coaching technique, and there are many different ways of approaching noting, but some are more useful than others. I think some of the common mistakes are, well, first and foremost, to try and note every single thought that arises in the mind. And then it becomes a little bit like sort of whack-a-mole. We're trying to kind of catch and it feels quite frantic. It feels quite uncomfortable in the mind. Remember, we only need to note or label when we realize we've actually been completely distracted in some way. And it's almost like we wake up and we're like, oh yeah, I'm meditating. In that moment, what have we been distracted by? What's the nature of the distraction? Is it a thought? If it is, we label it as thinking. Or is it a physical sensation? If it is, we label it as feeling. So in doing that, we start to create, as I say, a little bit of space, and we avoid this tendency that we have to chase after thoughts or to resist thoughts. Because ordinarily we're so busy either chasing after them or we're resisting them. It's a bit like if you imagine that you're just sitting there in the garden and you look up at the sky and maybe a bird appears in the sky. Now, if the bird were a thought, ordinarily we'd get very excited by this bird. We might even jump in the car and we'd drive down the street chasing the bird. We commonly do this in the mind. We do it all the time. Or, alternatively, we might see the bird and get very scared. We might run inside the house and hide. Noting allows us to simply see the bird and go, oh, look, a bird. Maybe even to enjoy it, to be curious, to be interested. That kind of sounds fanciful if we've been stuck in a very deep habitual groove of depressive thoughts for a long time. But this is a skill. And over time, we train the mind to behave differently, to approach thoughts in a different way. We essentially move toward a place of letting go. So with that in mind, just getting yourself comfortable today, eyes open as always. In the beginning, a nice soft focus. And when you're ready, just starting with some big deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then just gently closing the eyes as you breathe out. Just becoming more aware of the body, those points of contact between the body and the chair or the floor. And just taking a few moments just to become more aware of the different sounds around you. So just as we did yesterday, just starting to notice how the body's feeling now. Not the idea of it, but the actual feeling of it, simply being aware of how the body feels. And starting at the top of the head, just scanning down. Again, not thinking about the feelings, but just noticing what feels comfortable, what feels uncomfortable. So as you scan downward, just starting to become more aware of the breath, the movement of the breath in the body. Remember, if you're someone who struggles to feel that rising and falling sensation, just gently placing the hand on the stomach so you can feel it more easily. Just staying with that movement and just noticing how each breath is a little different from the last. So as you continue to follow the breath, you can either count the breaths as they pass, just up to 10 each time as we did in the foundation levels, or if you prefer, just staying with each rising and falling sensation without any counting at all. The important thing, remember, is to notice that moment of distraction, to pause, to note, to let go, and then bring the attention back to the breath again. So knowing that it doesn't matter what thoughts arise in the mind, what feelings arise, whatever they are, we just see them coming, going. If we get lost in them, we simply note and come back to the breath. So remember that idea, very gentle noting, not needing to think about the distraction, simply to realize what it was, note it, let it go, and come back to the breath again. Very little effort required. Body knows how to breathe. We're just following that movement, that rising and falling sensation. And now just letting go of any focus on anything and just allowing the mind to be free. And now just bringing the attention back to the body again, just bringing it back to the space around you as you just feel the weight of the body once again. As you start to notice the different sounds around you. And of course, as always, you can just gently open the eyes when you're ready. So just take a moment to pause. Remember noticing how the body feels, how the mind feels. Not getting involved in thinking about it, just noticing. And on that note, as you go through the day, or for this exercise as well in the coming days, the beauty about this noting technique is that it doesn't matter what arises in the mind. Whether they're difficult, challenging thoughts or exciting, happy thoughts, it really doesn't matter. The dynamic of letting go is the same, and the approach to noting is the same. Some habits will be stronger than others, of course, but as long as we can realize when it's happened, note it clearly, let it go, and bring the attention back to whatever we're doing at the time, then we'll be approaching it in just the right way. I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow for day 3.